Okay, so this video is completely unscripted. The only thing that I'm going to do is go through these four respective players. I might go on a tangent, but at the end of the video, I'm going to outline who I think is one, two, three, and four, and why. And I'm welcome to other opinions. I'm welcome to people trying to debate me after the video, all that kind of stuff. All I'll say is that the biggest focus is looking at these four fullbacks, and there should be an asterisk on Greg Inglis because he barely ever played at fullback. Like 40% of his career was at fullback. But end of the day, he's a good enough player to have played fullback well and even won a premiership with South. So I think for that matter, he deserves respect to at least be considered as a fullback. But as the video, as the tagline says, it says rank these players one to four. And Clarkey had the original idea. I'm looked at comments before I made this video. There's a lot of controversial things in the video. Some surprising opinions, my own opinions, but I'll look at all four players based on what I've seen. I've been watching rugby league since the years of 2003 onwards, so again, I don't have the best perspective, but from 2003, I think I've got at least a good enough perspective to say I know how to judge all four of these players. So we'll start at the first person on the list, on the far left, Mr. Jared Hayne. So, two-time Dally M winner. Unfortunately, he played for Parramatta, so he had the misfortune of never winning a premiership. That aside, though, I have to say he's a solid player. He could also play 5'8". He could also play centre. He played on the wing for New South Wales. Scoring that try that got disallowed, that was definitely a try. For me, Jared Hayne, as a player, I'm going to avoid all the controversy and all the other kind of stuff. For me, he's solidly in contention for second or third. I don't think he's a fourth place. I had a mate put him fourth based on his personal life and the fact that he never won a premiership, but and the other three have. For me, right now, without any kind of judging, I'm happy to put Jared at third. Solid three. Okay, so Greg. We look at all four of these guys, and for me, Greg is probably the most naturally gifted out of all four. So he could play fullback, centre, 5'8", effortlessly without ease. His premiership with Melbourne Storm has been nullified, but you can't dispute the fact that during those years he was an insane player. Won the grand final and Clive Churchill medal by himself. He also won it again with Souths, in the 2014 grand final. For me, based on watching highlights and his physical ability, I'm happy to put Inglis at two, potentially first. Anyway, we'll move across. So Anthony Minicello, the most underrated player out of these four. He's played more games than the other four. He started before all four players. He played in multiple grand finals, two premierships, two grand finals, 300 plus games, 130 plus tries. Look, I feel bad ranking him third or fourth, but I have friends who've ranked him first. But for me, there's a big thing around the mid-2000s where the whole talk was Brett Stewart / Billy Slater, who's the best fullback. And for me, that was the time where Minicello fell off. He came back and won that premiership in 2013 under controversial circumstances. You watch the game back, that's a controversial game. The Roosters won that grand final, but again, you watch the game back, it's controversial. Other than that, he had his 2000 to 2004 streak, and he won the Golden Boot in 2005. For me, though, I can't rank him above two, so he's either third or fourth. And finally, Brett Stewart. So when I was looking at the comments, Most people ranked Brett Stewart as the fourth ranked person in this lineup. However, I'm happy to debate the fact he could easily be one or two. Again, I have insane bias being a Manly fan. I grew up watching the Northern Eagles, who were dog shit, and then we came back as Manly. And for me, yeah, a lot of people they say that he's not a good defender. However, under the high ball, he's immaculate to the point where he took that ball that got him knocked out of the 2007 grand final that Melbourne won. Anyway, that tackle should have been a send off, but I digress. So for me, you want to rank Minicello number one. If you do, Brett Stewart has played 70 less games than Minicello, but scored 30 more tries. They've both won 2 grand finals apiece. Brett Stewart has played in 4 grand finals. I'm not going to go to look at Wiki or Google, but Minicello has lost more grand finals than Brett Stewart has. The early 2000s were not kind to the Roosters. They beat the Warriors, and you play the Warriors in a grand final. I'm sorry to Warriors fans. If you play the Warriors in a grand final, you win the premiership. That is why I didn't celebrate when Manly won in 2011. Despite the fact that I was at a Donohue's pub in Emu Plains and the fans were heckling me and being like, F Manly, that kind of thing. As a young man, I was getting rattled. I was intimidated. But the funniest thing was at full time, they all shook my hand and said, oh, congratulations, that kind of thing. And some old guy was like, oh, I'm actually happy that Manly won the premiership 40-0 in 2008 because, I'm a St. George fan and the Roosters beat us 38-0 back in the day. It's funny because back in the day, those tries would have been worth more. So St. George actually would have lost more than 38-0. Anyway, I digress. So Brett Stewart, 2 grand final wins. He captained Manly in 2011 and in spurts when Matt Orford, Jamie Lyon, and other players were out. For me, I'm happy to rank him number 2 because if you take away that scandal, if you take away the fact that he was injured so much, he scored 166 tries. He respectfully said, I don't hold the record because Steve Menzies scored a lot of those tries for Northern Eagles. So Brett Stewart holds the record, but that's got an asterisk. So for me, look, I want to be biased and put him at number 1 because the year that Orford got the Dally M, it should have been Stewart. In 2011, Billy Slater got the Dally M. It should have been Kieran Foran. But for me, I'm happy to put Stewart at 2. And now I'm going to do the final rankings. So 1 to 4, we've got Greg Inglis at 1. Yeah, I know. He's not a fullback traditionally, but you look at these 4 players and Greg Inglis is undisputed. I'll put Stewart at 2, Hayne at 3, and I'm so sorry I got to put Mini at 4. But if I had to get these 4 players and put them in their solid positions, if I had to name a back 5 or do a best of 17, I would put Brett Stewart at fullback, for me. Because Inglis can play centre, Hayne can play centre or 5'8", Mini can play on the wing. For me, the best pure fullback is Brett Stewart. But out of these 4, as players and their ability, so I feel like I need to do different power ranks. So at fullback, positional wise, ranking these players number 1 to 4, as fullbacks, I'll put Brett Stewart at 1, Minicello at 2, Hayne at 3, and Inglis at 4. So Inglis is 4th as a fullback. As a player, he's number 1 because he plays centre and 5'8". He can do any position so well. As utilities, I've got to put Inglis at 1, Hayne at 2, Minicello at 3, and Stewart at 4. So if we're going like players in any position, I've got to put Brett Stewart 4th. And legacy. So legacy. Hayne has negative points for the things that he got accused of doing. Inglis has a criminal record. Stewart also has court dates. So if we're going like, legacy, Minicello gets first. So legacy, Minicello's 1. Brett Stewart's 2, less bad. Inglis 3, and Hayne 4th. Again, I'm just spitballing, but the final ranking I'm going to do, like, objectively, legacy, as players, position aside, that kind of thing. Okay, you're going to hate this. Brett Stewart 1. Brett Stewart 1, Inglis 2, Hayne 3. No, sorry. Minicello 3 and Hayne 4. And I won't change that. So, again, thanks for the video. You've probably got like a lot of things to say. This is actually a controversial video. So, I thank you for listening and taking the time. But yeah, looking at the stats, legacy, all the stuff going on, for me, that's where I stand. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. Have fun.